Migraines can be disabling with symptoms so severe, all you can think about is finding a dark, quiet place to lie down. Up to 17% of women and 6% of men have experienced a migraine. In some cases, these painful headaches are preceded or accompanied by a sensory warning sign, or aura, such as flashes of light, blind spots, or tingling in the arm or leg. Migraine pain can be excruciating and may incapacitate you for hours, or in some cases, days. In this episode of Healthy Connections, we'll not only cover migraines, but other types of pains in the head, like cluster headaches. Do you or someone you know suffer from migraines or other types of headaches? Then this is the show for you. Hello and welcome to Healthy Connections. I'm Annetta Wilson, your host. Healthy Connections is a show dedicated to exploring a wide variety of topics, from prenatal care to Alzheimer's disease. And we do so with a wide variety of perspectives, from the professionals that help treat the syndromes to everyday people like you and me who may have personal experience dealing with these topics on a first-hand basis. Stay tuned for Healthy Connections. Dr. Daniel Nora is a neurologist specializing in headache and facial pain at the Orlando Health Neuroscience Institute Neurology Group. He's here to educate us on what a migraine is and what other headaches are all about. Thank you for being here, Dr. Nora.
Of course. It's my
We've heard
pleasure.
of people having migraines, but what exactly is the definition of a migraine? It's more than just a bad headache.
That is correct. So a migraine is a very specific kind of headache. And this specific kind of headache doesn't happen to everyone. It happens at about 12% of the population, maybe 1 out of 10 people in the United States get migraines, and it breaks itself down between men and women. About 17% of women get migraines at one point in their life, versus 6% of men get migraines.
Okay, let's start with the first statistic. Not everybody gets them. Who is more likely to develop migraine headaches?
The people who have a genetic predisposition to develop migraine headaches.
So this is a genetic connection.
There's definitely a genetic connection. It's so strong that if one parent has migraines, 50% chance of developing migraine on their child. If both parents have migraines, 75% chance of developing migraine at one point in their life.
Wow, you just probably freed some people who thought there were other factors involved. And is there a reason that more women tend to get migraines than men?
There can be multiple reasons why women get more migraines than men. Partially it's because of hormonal fluctuations that happen in women that men don't have. Other things that may happen is that men tend to have a little bit less, they're less likely to actually go to the doctor and report them also. Mm-hmm. So multiple reasons may actually contribute to that number.
How do you know if you're having a migraine as opposed to just a regular headache? What are some of the symptoms and signs?
So as far as migraine goes, the definition of a migraine is lasting for at least 4 hours, but it can last longer, like 72 hours plus. It is usually one-sided, but it can happen on both sides. It tends to be more throbbing, pounding kind of pain. And the hallmark of a migraine is its sensitivities. So sensitivity to light, sensitivity to sound. Some people have sensitivity to smells. Some people have nausea, and that is very common and one of the biggest things that kind of leads to the diagnosis of migraine. But there's been other things that people with migraine have even noticed: sensitivity to barometric pressure or sensitivity to storms and weather.
Well, now I've heard of barometric pressure impacting people who have joint issues, but never migraines. So is there a treatment that you, as a neurologist, will say, yes, that's what you do?
For barometric pressure?
No, for migraine.
Okay.
Is there a treatment for migraines that you think, yes, this is the definitive treatment, or does it vary?
It varies. There's definitely some standard treatments out there. There's a pharmacologic treatment. There is
Pharmacological, somebody writes your prescription.
correct. There's
Okay.
that. That's always standard whenever you go to the doctor. But there's also lifestyle modifications. There's something else called neuromodulation where you can use electrical and magnetic devices.
Okay, let's stop. That sounds fascinating. Neuromodulation, what would that look like for someone who has a migraine and they were to use that modality to get some relief? What would they be doing?
So one of the easiest ones to get is called the Cephaly device. It's actually a TENS unit that actually you can buy online. It doesn't even need a prescription. And you put it on your forehead. You turn it on with your phone, and it gives you an electrical stimulation in just the right place at just the right frequency that it decreases the intensity of the headache. And perhaps if you use it more frequently, it can actually decrease the likelihood of you developing headaches in the future.
Okay, so before everybody goes out and starts ordering one of these, do you need a healthcare professional to show you how to do this so you don't perhaps give yourself more of a shock than you need to?
The device already has a programmed setting where it takes you through like a standard acute treatment or preventative treatment, but with my patients, I always guide them a little bit more on how to use it so that they have a positive experience.
We don't want anybody to be doing amateur hour.
That is correct.
Okay, let's talk about some of the others. That is when you use a unit that will give you a shock. What are some of the others?
So as far as neuromodulation goes, there's another unit that you can put around your arm that actually gives you another electrical stimulation that tricks the body into thinking that it's in pain somewhere else, so it can release its own pain-relieving substances to treat that pain that is in the arm, but actually those same substances help the migraine.
Okay, so that's if you have something physical that you're putting on your body. What about medications? Let's start with the ones that you might get prescribed by your doctor. What are some of the most common treatments?
Depending on how frequent your headaches are, there's different approaches. So if you have about 5 or more headache days per month, your doctor may prescribe preventative medication. So a medication that you take every single day in order to try to decrease the likelihood of developing a headache tomorrow.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, if you're having about 26 headache days per month, taking an as-needed medication 26 days per month is not very effective. And a lot of those medications are not made to be taken that frequently. So medications that can be used daily, they come in various forms. In the past, prior to 2018, we didn't have much, so we used to use medications that were originally meant for blood pressure, or medications that were originally meant for seizures, for depression, and those tended to help people with migraines. Now, post-2018, there's been almost like a migraine medication renaissance that occurred, kind of like we entered a golden age where we have new medications that were specifically made for migraines. And that comes in the form of the CGRP-based medications.
CGRP.
Calcitonin, gene-related peptide.
Okay. Now we're in science class, but I love it.
One of the culprits of that causes migraines. If I had CGRP right now, I injected myself with CGRP, I'd likely develop a migraine.
Okay.
It's that closely related to it. So,
and let's talk about some of the more natural or organic methods that people might use, because everyone may not be a fan of getting a prescription and they want to try something more natural. What's out there?
of course. So there's always lifestyle modifications. So there's try and avoid certain foods or certain things that may trigger
What
migraines.
foods might trigger?
Red wine, aged cheeses. For some people it's citrus, but everyone's a little bit different. MSG tends to be pretty popular among things that offend or cause migraines.
Okay.
So there's that. There's also stability. People with migraines tend to do better when everything is stable, meaning decreased stress, going to sleep at the same time, waking up at the same time, eating at the same time, having kind of like a breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner.
Okay.
Those kinds of things, that kind of stability tends to make things better. And it's not uncommon to actually notice that some people trying to make healthy changes in their life, they try to look up, oh, I want to start a paleo diet, or I want to start intermittent fasting, and their headaches get worse. Partly is because they're changing their pattern.
Ah, okay. So being sort of regimented helps
Yes.
in mitigating all of the symptoms and the problems. Now, I've heard of people who have to go to bed, have to turn the lights off, all of that. Do you still recommend people do those things to help themselves?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely. Whenever you're in the middle of a migraine, do the things that make you comfortable.
So we're going to very briefly talk about the difference between migraine headache and cluster headache. What is a cluster headache?
It's a different kind of headache. Now, this one has a male predisposition.
Okay.
Cluster gets its name from it happening in clusters of time. So it's not like migraine headache where, regardless of the month, you'll always have the migraine headaches. Maybe it happens in menstrual distribution, but that's about as close as a cluster it gets. Cluster headaches usually tend to occur more in like the nighttime. They wake you up from sleep. Sometimes they happen for a specific time in spring and then they go away. They happen in clusters in time.
Okay.
Now, something else that clusters have is they tend to be unilateral, kind of like migraines, but more specifically, more surrounded around the eye area.
Okay.
Behind the eye, around the eye, kind of goes to the temple in the front. And a lot of the times it tends to have certain features with it. So sometimes the eye feels a little grainy. Sometimes the eye looks red. It's tearing. And there are some medications that they share between cluster and migraine headaches, but they have their own kinds of medications and their own kinds of treatments.
So what I'm hearing is when you have a headache and it's not just, oh, okay, my head hurts, but it's one of those, I got to stop, I got to turn out the lights, like I don't want anybody to talk to me. Talk to your doctor.
Most definitely.
Always. We
Yes.
always recommend that you talk to your healthcare professional. Thank you for this. And a lot of surprising indications. You know, the genetic connection was not aware of, and the regimented lifestyle. And some people would love like, yes, I already do that. But that's interesting information. Thank you, Dr. Nora.
Of course.
We will be back right after this. Migraines can be debilitating. The good news is, in the last few years, there have been more and more advances in how to treat them. We just found out there's a genetic connection. So if you or someone you care about suffers from migraines, make sure you talk to your healthcare professional so you can continue making healthy connections. Thanks for joining us.